Hi, I'm Leanne Ely. I'm a nutritionist, a New York Times best-selling author, and some people even say I'm a life coach. I started the Daily Dish Show to share my story, my truth, and my journey to vibrancy, and to inspire others to do the same. Because it's all about grit, perseverance, and finding a way despite the odds. It's about embracing the whole woman, not just the parts that are easy to love, and feeding her heart, mind, body, and soul. But I found that this isn't just my story, it's your story too. It's go time. This is the Daily Dish. Go time. Here we are. It's Wise Women's Wednesday. Hello, Catherine and Autumn. Right out of the gate, they're right here. How exciting is that? So glad you're here. As you know, we've got a ton of stuff, two big things happening. This Saturday, of course, we've got our Creating a Vibrant 2023. You can find that at savingdinner.com/20 vibrant, VIBRANT. Hi, Beverly. You know why? Because this is your setup. We're talking about setting up, teeing up the ball, being prepared, getting ready, making your January not just about stupid New Year's resolutions, which never work out, but instead about an actual plan, tangible, based on the vision of what you want for your whole life. And it's going to be 9 to 5 the whole day. You will get the recording, you get everything, an amazing swag bag, and it's just chef's kiss. It's going to be great. I just love it. I'm so glad you're here. Jocelyn, Jeanette, there's my girl Nancy. Mother Hen's in the house. Cheers. Who else did I just saw someone else here? I know I did Beverly. There she is. Now, speaking of Beverly, Beverly is one of our members of Take Back Your Body. Take Back Your Body is another program that we have, but this is for 8 weeks, not just a Saturday. And this is just to go incrementally through what it means to take back your body. Because really taking back your body is taking back your life, but it's taking back the vehicle that basically contains your life, right? When our bodies feel good, oftentimes everything else feels good. So true. Michelle, hello. Jane is in the house as well. 2 days in a row. I'm proud of you, Michelle. That's awesome. So I want you to look at both of these two things. It's a commitment. I get it. It's an investment. Get it. But what do you want for 2023, right? What do you want? Have you asked yourself that question? Have you sat with yourself with that question for a while? Have you meditated on it, written out about it, all of that? I hope so. I hope so. Because one of these, or maybe both of these programs, we have a bunch of people doing both of them, are right for you. Check out Take Back Your Body. It's at savingdinner.com/body. And also check out, of course, our whole day together, which again is on record. You are going to get this. You're going to be able to keep this. Jackie, Debbie, Maureen, hello. I'm really excited. Everybody who attends our all day things comes away and says, yeah, it's so great. Because we get to be in community together as well. We have breaks for lunch and potty breaks and all of that. But it's just the yumminess of being together is just something that I can't express enough. So savingdinner.com/body, savingdinner.com/vibrant. Two things I really want you to meditate, pray about, and see if this is right for you. You'll know, you'll feel it. And so funny, by the way, this is Saturday is your gift to yourself, Jane. I am so delighted. Nancy, of course you're coming. I would be so disappointed if you weren't there. Our Nancy's going to be there. That's so great. Thank you for coming. Hi, Debbie. I'm glad you're here. Here's the deal, too. The quote of the week is does this support the life I'm trying to build? What an apt quote to start our year off with. I just love this because when we are in that place of questioning everything, you know what happens to us? We see things from a very different lens. Big time. Because now all of a sudden we're not just rolling with it, we're actually helping to create it. We're not just waiting for things to happen to us, we are making things happen ourselves. There's a big, big difference. One is extraordinarily powerful. There's our girl Sandy. Sandy's going to be there too on Saturday. Hi, Kathy. I'm glad you're here. Isn't that such a good quote, Jane? I love it. I'm so into this quote big time, because this is something that you could ask yourself every single day. It's something you can ask yourself every time that you cook something for dinner. Is this helping me build the life that I want to live? Is it? Does this support the life I'm trying to create or build, or however you want to phrase it? We ask ourselves these questions. Our minds actually look for ways to support and to answer it, right? Because you'll get an answer. Promise. Absolutely. Linda, hello. So that's enough of that. I'm not going to talk about that all day. The other thing is that we have just a screaming, very short, quick flash deal, I would say, on Crave Crusher. Usually $47. You can get it for $27. It's $20 off. We're doing this simply because we've run out of L-glutamine. We're waiting for it to come in. And in the meantime, this contains L-glutamine, other amino acids, some chromium, some other things that really do help with cravings. We have a lot of people who are going through just like wanting their L-glutamine. And I get it. I use mine every day. It's in my smoothie daily, right? However, this is what I can do. But I also take Crave Crusher. So I'm kind of a fool for this. You can find this at savingdinner.com/stop craving. Take advantage of it. I don't know how many more days. As soon as, our manufacturer sends us our L-glutamine, which we ordered a bazillion cases of, that deal's gone. So grab your Crave Crusher. You take 4 a day. And this is what it's done for me. It makes it so that I don't think about what a little snacky snack I would like to have, because I love to nibble. I love to eat. I'm just a foodie. Food and me, we're like BFFs, but it's just got to be the right thing. So anyway, I think that's everything, right? Stop craving. Oh, you can find also, we have our kits are still on sale. Now, what we've done is we have changed up the kits. So we've taken out the L-glutamine because it's not here, and we want to get it sent to you. And we've adjusted the price in your favor, and there's still 20% off, and you're going to get a quote deck. I mean, that is just the most amazing thing. You can find that at savingdinner.com/show. So if you're low on something, this is the best way to get the best deal. We are going to be talking this today. Man, we've got something that I really want to talk to you about, because yesterday we talked a lot about our vision and the cost and investment, the comfort zone and the comfort trap. The comfort zone is a trap, by the way, that. And today I just want to talk about where that all leads us. When we settle, where does that lead us? Where does it take us? Because we get, when we find ourselves using the words, I'm overwhelmed, I just can't, this is too hard for me, this is whatever, everything you say, I'm overwhelmed, your world gets smaller. It's too hard, your world gets smaller. I can't do it, smaller. Do you see where you're going? The possibility, shut down. So I want to talk about that today, because I think that this is a place that it's habitual. It's something that we do on the regular. I heard myself saying something along those lines yesterday, and I just went, heck no, not doing that. No, N-O spells no. Can't do that to myself. I am looking continually for possibility and for my capability, and also to tap into my power, because I know it's there. And I know it's there for you, because I know you, right? I know who you are. You're here on purpose and for purpose. I know who you are. You're the apple of God's eye. I know who you are. You're fearfully and wonderfully made, and I am blessed to have you in my little circle. Hi, Jennifer, by the way, who's here and waving. That's what we want, right? We need this community. We need each other, but we also need a place in this world to say, okay, I'm scared. I know it's going to have some hard stuff involved, but man, I'm open for it. I'm even willing to take a few risks. And in spite of fear, I'm going to do it anyway. Because if you don't, you get stuck in groundhog dull. Groundhog dull day, the same day over and over again. And that sometimes just doesn't work. I don't know about you, but every year I have great expectations of myself that I'm going to grow and learn and become more. Because that is my Creator's expectation of me and of you too. I'm not alone in this, right? So what do we have to do to get there? We have to flip the switch on mediocrity. That's what it is. Mediocrity. We're going to talk about that and unpack it ever so slightly because there's some jaw-dropping stuff about mediocrity. We think about mediocrity, just say, whatever, tepid, lukewarm, etc. Sure, but there's more to it than that. And it's also kind of a quitting on yourself. And that we need to address. Margot's here too. Did you see Margot? I know. Hey, Margot. You've used the word mediocre. How was your, you ask your someone, how was that new restaurant last night? Mediocre. What did you think of the movie? I was long, kind of mediocre, not a great movie. Nothing I would, recommend. Wouldn't watch it again. You might even say that about the guy who, came in, mowed your lawn. Didn't edge, he didn't blow, he didn't do whatever. He did a mediocre job. He got the lawn cut, but he didn't really do a great job. Not going to recommend him to anyone. We all know this. Have you experienced, pinkies up if you experienced that. Have you experienced mediocrity in any fashion yourself? You do not want to be the one who is providing the mediocre service or the mediocre results or providing a mediocre effort, even for yourself, because it tells you that you're just not enough and you're not worth the effort. Did you know that? Your mind is always listening, always. Here's how the dictionary defines mediocre, by the way. Merely adequate. Is that enough for you? Is merely adequate enough for you? Is that what you want? Do you want a merely adequate marriage? Do you want a merely adequate dinner? Do you want a merely adequate house? Nobody does. Everybody wants something that's beautiful and juicy and vibrant and expresses themselves. I've seen your homes when you've taken pictures of things and posted them. There's nothing wrong with wanting a beautiful home to reflect it, your personality. I had the nicest compliment on New Year's Day. We had some friends over for New Year's brunch, and this friend of mine said to me, she said, "I love the way you decorate. It's pretty and it's charming." And I don't remember what else she said, but I just really appreciated that. It's an expression of me. Might not make the cover of Home beautiful, but I like it just fine. A little bit of this and a little bit of that. There's nothing designer about it, but I like it. It's very comfortable. And I think that's what we are all striving for, is that kind of comfort without mediocre coming into the middle of it and taking that over. And there's a fine line there. There is a fine line. So when I look at mediocre, I think, what is mediocre really, really, besides all this middle and stuff and, all of that, moderate to maybe even low quality, what is it? I think it's settling is what I think mediocre is. Now this is my own definition of it. And as I thought about it, I thought about settling and how we just I'm just not going to go through that next effort. Just not going to go there. Just too hard, just this, just that, whatever. And I see that, and I don't think that we really say that out loud. We just kind of go through the machinations of that in our heads. Does that make sense? So what we'll do is, for example, maybe might be you, we'll go to a restaurant, the food is mediocre, we'll finish our plates anyway because we don't want to throw it away. We don't say anything, but we just keep it. We just eat it. I know I've done that. Or even with a haircut, I've explained to you before that, I had a hairdresser who just muffed my hair completely. And I said, it's just fine. I gave her a really nice tip, got into the car and started crying. Why put up with mediocre results? Huh? Why do we put up with that? Why do we tolerate that? Why do we tolerate it from ourselves? I think that it has something to do with not being afraid to stand out sometimes, that saying something to that hairdresser would be a confrontation. Maybe we don't want that. A confrontation means this wasn't up to par. This is not okay. This needs to be confronted. And sometimes it doesn't go well. I know it hasn't for me. I've done it. It doesn't go well. But there's also the fear of, what will they think if I say something? What will they think? What will that hairdresser think if I say something? Will she ever look at me with the same eyes? Will we have a good relationship? I mean, that's all the stuff that went through my mind. What about you? Is any of this sound familiar? So the other thing is that we can shift and go into the blame game. What about that? Do you want the blame game? The blame game is a bummer, because the blame game is like, well, it's not my fault. It's so-and-so's fault and his fault and her fault. And it's everyone's fault. It's my genes, not having to take responsibility for yourself. It's really convenient, isn't it? And it gets us into this place of just, well, it just happened. I'm going to take this mediocre life because that's the hand I was dealt. I say no to all of that. I say no to all of that. And the Latin definition of mediocre is going to get you stirred up a little bit. You might want to put this in your journal for later. But here it is. Medi meaning middle, and okris meaning rugged mountain. Put it all together. This is what it means, literally translated. To settle halfway to the summit of a difficult mountain. To settle halfway to the summit being the very tippy top, where all the view is, where all the spectacularness is, where you have to do the difficult climb, and it's settling instead in the halfway point, a compromise of abilities and potential. Now, sometimes, it isn't your fault. You don't understand about your potential. You don't understand about your abilities, but I'm just going to drop this one little seed. You are powerful, way more powerful than you think. Tuck that away and ask yourself this as you start to settle, as you start to say, well, I don't have the abilities. I don't have the talent. I don't have the potential. Tuck that away and ask yourself, or is it that nobody's coddled that along the way? Nobody has encouraged you along the way? Your potential is there. Your abilities are there. And yes, your talent is there. I promise you, you wouldn't be on this planet otherwise. You just wouldn't. It's all there. There's a negotiation between the drive to excel and the biological urge to settle. We have these urges to settle because the risk factor, our amygdalas just scream sometimes and just say, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. But we look for the most comfortable option, settling. And that's mediocre most of the time. Jim Collins, the author of the book, Good to Great. By the way, fantastic book. I read that, 15 years ago or so. And it really opened my eyes, made me think more like a businesswoman than just, I'm just doing this, and it made me step up and say, yes, I'm in this. Here's what he said about doing research for his book, Great by Choice, which I think is a phenomenal title. I still haven't read this book. I think I'm going to put that on my list for 2023. This is what he said. We found in our research studies that the signature of mediocrity is not an unwillingness to change. It's the signature of mediocrity. The signature of mediocrity is inconsistency. Ouch, right? And all of us have been plagued. A few years ago, that was my word of the year, consistency. And I did a lot better than I did before. But consistency is queen. Consistency just absolutely snuffs out mediocrity every single time. because mediocrity doesn't hold a candle to consistency. Consistency really does make a difference. That consistent habit. So chronic inconsistency is going to give you chronic mediocre results, isn't it? We know that. So when we move the needle in our lives with anything, when changing one little habit, changing a few things, whatever, when we do all of this, you know what happens to us? This is the cool thing. It breaks the back of mediocrity. Consistency does that every single time. Mediocrity doesn't live here anymore. We now live with consistency. And boy, doesn't it get easier as we go on. It gets easier as we go on. I think about it this way. I mean, just use this analogy on anything. What would happen, you gardening women who are out there, what would happen if you decided after planting this big, beautiful garden that you just weren't going to water, you weren't going to weed, you weren't going to do, anything? What would your garden look like? Would it be the beautiful garden that you saw in Home and Garden, for example? Would it be the one that looks like on the seed packet? Would it? Absolutely not. The key to a beautiful garden is the consistency of the care. It's the weeding, it's the watering, it's the making sure everything's covered when the frost comes, etc., etc., etc. You know this. And yet, we are more consistent with our gardening than we are with the tending of ourselves. We tend to our gardens, but do we tend to ourselves? And that is what I'm all about. Today, I heard this incredible quote from, of all people, Winona Judd. She was on TikTok, came up in my FYP. And I wrote it down because it was so good. And she said, self-care isn't selfish. Self-care is sacred. And that is a big fat amen from me. Absolutely. And self-care is beyond this realm of mediocrity. And it's more about consistency and tending to our little bodies, our gardens, our forever gardens. This is where we live, by the way. So you want muscles? You remember those commercials? Have you fallen and you can't get up? Why do you think those people are on the floor? As we get older, yeah, we're going to lose our sense of balance. But if we are in this place right now today of making sure and tending to our little gardens here and making sure that our balance is there, our flexibility is there, and our strength is there, are we going to fall and not be able to get up? No, we won't. We will be that 1% of elderly people who aren't in homes anywhere and are instead strong, capable, and able-bodied at 85 years old, maybe. That's my goal. That is my goal. I'm going to be that woman. There'll be you'll see, oh my gosh, look at her. They've got all kinds of, sometimes just for your own edification, Google 85-year-old or 90-year-old people doing weightlifting. Take a look at them. They live completely different than their counterparts and their peers. And it's because they haven't fallen. They're not in that whole thing. There's a whole section of our population that needs that. And it's not a put down on them. I'm giving you knowledge that you can avoid this if you do something about it now today and consistently keep with it. I don't want anybody in my world falling down and not being able to get up. I mean, that can be just tragic and have a very sad ending. And this is, the same thing as with our health. You want great health. You can't just expect it. That doesn't work that way. You work at it. It's every day. Are you hydrating? What's on the end of your fork? Are you sleeping? And then the things that need fixing, you go after it with a vengeance. With a vengeance. Because you can, because you're capable, because you have that power to do so. You make a decision about yourself. I want a vibrant life in 2023 and beyond. What am I going to do about it today? And so when we go to all of this stuff, this we're talking about this mediocrity trap because it is. There are some ways that we can things that we can do right now, mindset stuff and physical stuff, so that we can stop settling, so we can stop being trapped by mediocre and the comfort zone, right? They both live hand in hand, by the way, one or the other. So number one is to acknowledge the fear, because listen, if you don't have a fear, in your life, I don't know who you are. We all have fears of some kind. We have fears of being judged. We have fears that it's going to be too hard. We have fears that it's beyond our capabilities. We have fear, 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 and fear. Sometimes we get paralyzed by fear. But it's only because we've entertained the notion of fear for so long. We haven't focused instead on the courage that is all innately ours as well. Right? That's the solution. We want to do that. You remember the fear fence? We talked about the fear fence. If anybody was in that Full Bloom. In Full Bloom, we talked about the fear fence because my philosophy on this is that we can't live fearless life. There's no such thing. And kind of working our way into that, then we get stuck in this perfectionism zone of, I've got to be fearless and I don't know how, and it's too hard. And then we get overwhelmed and there goes that. Instead, we need to look at, we have fears in our lives. How can I shrink that down to make it fit? To make it not quite as scary as it is. It's sort of like when you were a little kid and you thought there was a boogeyman in your closet. And your mom came in, turned on the light and say, see, there's nothing there. It made it less scary. And you went to bed, she turned out the light and you went back to bed, or she put a night light on, and it made it less fearsome. Fearful, I should say. Do you see where I'm going with all of that? So we live with our fear, but we just acknowledge our fear and just say, you're just itsy bitsy. It's not hard. It's little itsy bitsy. It doesn't need to be difficult, So we acknowledge the fear and we move on. And it's always smaller. That fear is always smaller than we think it is. That's just the truth. I promise you, it's not as big. It's not a big, scary boogeyman living in your closet. That's number one. Number two is the comfort zone. The comfort zone is always a trap, always. And it's truly not comfortable because you know what the results are. Remember, there's a cost to everything, and it always involves some kind of pain. It's the pain you're willing to pay. But it's also, the comfort zone is an invitation to live a life that you have not dreamed of. That's not what you wanted for yourself when you were a little girl. That's not what you wanted for yourself when you were a grown woman. It's not what you want for yourself right now. You do not want a Groundhog Day existence. No one does. Not a soul. But it's guaranteed to keep you there. So think about these things and start looking at, what is this? Where is my comfort zone? What do I fall into? Because the comfort zone is a trap, and it's a deep one, and you fall into it. That couch can suck you up and keep your butt there on the couch forever. Do you want that? Number three, take daily inspired action. You can. You need to be inspired by your goals, inspired from each other. A lot of you have said over and over again, I've watched this in our group on Facebook, how inspired you are by our Tanya. Of course you are. 130 pounds is what she lost. Not only that, but she has been consistent, notice, every single day posting. And if she doesn't, she comes back and says, I'm sorry I didn't post yesterday. I was exhausted and whatever. And it's because she's doing things excellently, not perfectly, by the way. And perfect does not exist this side of glory. Remember that. But excellence can be yours. When you say, this is what I want, then you do it. And Sandy, I'm going to put you in the equation. You are showing up daily. You are doing your thing. And I'm super proud of you. Look at what Sandy's doing. Same idea, same consistency, not the comfort zone, but instead striving for excellence. Fabulous. I love it. This is a spam call. Decline. Thank you. Number 4 is have your own voice. Don't have somebody else's voice. Don't be a Me Too person. Be your own woman. And when you feel brave, speak up, And I will tell you about this bravery stuff, this courage stuff. That is also innately yours because it's part of your power pack. It was put into your DNA. Speak up. Say something. Be the woman that you're meant to be. This is how you banish mediocrity. In the early 2000s, 2001, January 2001, 21 years ago, I started Saving Dinner. At the time, it was called Menu Mailer. And I was the first one on the block. And don't you know, within like 6 months, there were all these copycats. And they even called it Menu Mailer, which is what I called, it's a made up name. It's not even a thing, right? And it was just, I remember looking at that and thinking, don't you have an imagination? Don't you have something else that you can do? Why are you copying me, for heaven's sakes? Be your own self, be your own person. But I will tell you, having your own voice creates the uniqueness of who you are, and it makes you stand out in a good way. And it makes you stand proud in your own power, in your own vibrancy, in your own uniqueness, fearfully and wonderfully made on purpose and for purpose, because if you didn't speak up, nobody would know your truth or your opinion of something or whatever it is. Having your own voice is having power in your life. That is absolutely critical. Because here's the rub right here at the very end of this whole thing, and I'm going to wrap it all up. Being authentic isn't mediocre, ever. Never, never, never. It's how you create your own custom brand of vibrancy. And that's exactly what you've been called on this planet, on this earth, to do, to be yourself. Everybody else is taken. So have the guts to be yourself. Have the guts to say no to mediocre. Have the guts to claim your power, your voice, to stand up and to be counted, because you do count. All righty. Wise Women's Wednesday. Wrapped, dusted, done. Thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. You know that. And if you need me, you know how to get a hold of me. If you need something, if you are needing something to get your year kicked off, go to savingdinner.com/announcements. That's where we've housed everything. Click on those links, take a look at it, and ask yourself, is this for me? You'll know. You will know. All right? Peace be with you. I love you all. Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining me today. You can find me on TikTok for daily tips to help support your most vibrant life. And remember, you are the author of your own story. Until next time.